2006 was just not a good year for the Fox network. They tried 7 different shows, and they all ended up failing in one way or another. With the exception of one of them, they all just vanished after one season, going into the void we all know as lost media. Barely anything can be found to even prove that they existed. Until one day, I came across a couple of screener DVDs. On them were the pilots to these 7 failures. The Wedding Album, Till Death, Happy Hour, Standoff, Vanished, The Winner, Justice. It's time to bring them back, folks. One by one, in no particular order, they're coming out of the void and getting a thorough examination. Strap in, this is gonna be a fun one. Happy Hour is truly one of the worst shows I have ever seen in my entire life. And I'm not alone in thinking that. When this show came out, it was an enormous travesty of a failure. It lasted just under 2 months with 13 episodes under its belt, with only 4 of them ending up actually getting on the air. This was because of extremely poor reception and critically dangerously low view levels. It may have been created by the duo that made That 70s Show, but trust me, none of the charm from that series made it over here. Happy Hour is extremely difficult to come across. Nothing exists for the show, save for a couple still images, the episode descriptions, and a couple clips here and there. Full episodes of the show are pretty much extinct. Until now. I normally don't like judging a show purely based off of one episode, especially the pilot, but considering the fact that literally nothing else from Happy Hour exists anymore, there's not many other options, are there? But if the rest of the show was like this pilot, no wonder this thing met a quick end. Have you guys ever wanted to watch a discount version of 2.5 Men? Then congratulations! Happy Hour is the show for you! It's pretty much just a generic sitcom with all the possible charm, likability, and humor sucked out with an industrial-sized vacuum. The best way I can describe Happy Hour is 2.5 Men without the kid. Want me to prove it? Well, let me walk you through the story. A guy loses his relationship and gets kicked out of his home, and he's whiny, neurotic, and has poor luck with women. He's forced to move in with a lecherous, perverted, sex-obsessed jingle writer, and the two of them get in wacky shenanigans. Yeah, it's 2.5 Men. I don't like 2.5 Men, but I must say, at least they put effort into being raunchy and out there. Happy Hour, I don't even know what they're trying to be. I think it's trying to be everything. They're trying to have the catchphrases, the quotable lingo, the relatable, hip, trendy characters. And they're trying so hard to have that one breakout character. It's trying way too hard, and nowhere is this more obvious than in the acting. This is community theater levels. Look at the opening scene. As I've said many times in some of my other videos, the opening scene is the most important. It sets up the characters and it gives you a hint as to what's to be expected for the rest of the show. Here we see the main character, Diet 2.5 Men guy. Although his character's name is Henry Beckman, and I did not know that until I looked it up. He's just that boring. He comes in, apparently coming back from a baseball camp that his girlfriend has sent him on, and she did that because she wants to break up with him and give him a nice last memory from while they're together. Seems simple enough, maybe a little bland, but if you put in some good jokes, you could spice it up. Do they? No. Here's how it goes.
I'm sorry. You're breaking up with me?
Things just kind of aren't awesome anymore.
You can't break up with me. I moved to Chicago for you.
Look, I can't help it, Henry. I'm blossoming. I mean, my whole life is changing. I quit my job.
What? Why?
That office was boring. So I'm gonna use the money I won in the Miss Missouri pageant to pay for acting lessons. I want to be on a reality show.
Did you notice anything wrong with this scene? Because I sure did. Everyone acts like it's a stage play. Their voices are just so animated and over the top. And those hand gestures. Don't get me started on those hand gestures. I think this thing was directed by Beto O'Rourke. And it's not just this opening scene either. That's the whole episode. No one acts realistic. Yeah, there's over-the-top and animated moments in other sitcoms like Modern Family or Friends, but they still take the time to make sure that the characters are realistic and therefore relatable. The animated moments are just for comedy or for emphasis. Happy Hour doesn't seem to understand that. Everybody's just a cartoon. And speaking of cartoon, we get to Diet Charlie Sheen. And I'm not gonna call him by his actual character name, Larry Cohn. No, he's just Diet Charlie Sheen. And really, that's all he is. It's like how in The Thief and the Cobbler they told Jonathan Winters to just say whatever he thinks Robin Williams would have said at that time. It's like they put him on set and said, hey, we couldn't afford Charlie Sheen, so we got you, make something up. He's the most unbearably over the top because you know exactly what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the goofy breakout character that everybody loves and gravitates to for the comic relief. The Phil Dunphy, the Joey Tribbiani, we get it, we've seen it all before. Only problem is, Diet Charlie Sheen doesn't do anything. He's just loud, likes booze, and perverted. They don't do any jokes with this, they just have him be a creep. Every so often, he's also accompanied by his... I don't know. Are they exes? Are they siblings? Their relationship is not clearly established. It's implied that they don't even really know each other, they just met in a bar or something. But that's never how they act around each other. It always seems like they're either siblings that just can't stop fighting to save their lives, or victims of a really recent breakup. Either way, this girl is very boring because she only has one personality trait. She's abusive to her fiancé. Do you remember that show Alan Gregory? The Jonah Hill series about that kid who's a son of two gay dads and he goes to public school for the first time? Well, if you remember the character Jeremy, he was played by Nat Faxon, and he was always pushed around, bullied, and treated like dirt. Nat Faxon's also in this show, and he plays the same character as Jeremy, albeit not animated and before Jeremy came out. It wasn't funny in Alan Gregory, and it's not funny here. And especially because it's in live action, I just feel sorry for the guy. He's always yelled at and treated like trash, and it seems like he's being forced into marriage. There's a scene at the end where he chugs down a whole bunch of alcohol just so that he can get rid of all the pain, but that's not funny. You know why? All the things that shouldn't be over the top and cartoony, like simple dialogue, is. But all the stuff that should be over the top and cartoony, like future spousal abuse, is not. There's no joke to it except for the fact that it's a fairly realistic portrayal of someone being treated like garbage. I guess it's funny because it's the woman doing it, because double standards are so funny. And rounding out the cast is Hollywood Homely here. I don't get this character either. However, it's different than the last girl I mentioned. Whereas she was just a one-note character that had one joke that was not funny in the slightest. This girl, I don't understand her character. We have so many conflicting things about her, and they're never really explained or explored. She's very attractive, yet can't get a guy, but maybe she actually is unattractive because of her bad habits? I don't know. There's a part where she and the main character end up sleeping together after getting drunk at a party, and then she makes all this relationship commitment talk, but then she takes it all back when she sees that he has a horrified look on his face and says that she was just joking. But was she? I don't know. It wasn't clear enough. Was she actually kidding? Is this a sort of gateway into a character trait that we'll explore later on, where she's actually really, really insecure and just wants love and commitment? Or is she just someone that likes to mess around and have fun with people's crazy reactions? I don't know. I get that this is the pilot and not everything's gonna be set up right from the get-go, but these are just the basic character traits of our main cast. I don't know anything about these guys. So here's what we have for our cast. A diet version of Charlie Sheen from 2.5 Men. A diet version of non-Charlie Sheen from 2.5 Men. Hollywood Homely with conflicting character traits. An abuser, an abusee, and Caitlin from 16, who is actually played by the actress who played Caitlin in 16, and I bet she's missing that role right about now. But what's the most important part about a sitcom? The humor. After all, sitcom is situation comedy. Comedy's in the name. Happy Hour not only has bad humor, but it has some of the worst humor I've ever seen in a sitcom ever. Every single joke in Year High I've seen in at least 100 different sitcoms. Nothing special at all. There's a scene where they're at a party and Henry's just kinda awkward around women, but not in any really interesting or unique way. He's just kinda bumbling around by talking about his weird job. Boring. There's Diet Charlie Sheen talking to some of his business associates in a very loud voice. Boring. There's characters getting drunk, and that's the joke. They're drunk. Hilarious. There's a running gag about how Diet Charlie Sheen and the abuser are fighting over a TV. Not only does it not go anywhere or get resolved in the slightest, but they don't make any jokes about it. It's basically, I want the TV.
But I want the TV!
But I want it more. Repeat over and over again, and it just doesn't go away. Was this a running theme throughout the series? Because I want to come back every single week to see who's gonna get that TV! Bad jokes are one thing, but the one way to make a bad joke into a horrendous joke is to not know when to kill it. So many times in this pilot, the jokes just go on and on and on until long after their shelf life, and then they just leave you with a bad taste in your mouth. For example, Henry is trying to get a job, so he gets an interview with Hollywood Homely, who just so happens to turn out to be Diet Charlie Sheen's good friend. He goes there and he doesn't have proper clothing. Again, typical joke. But then they continue with the joke by revealing that you could see, Henry's particular area through his pant leg. Do you know how long this joke goes on? At least a solid minute. And they don't even kill it when they go to the next scene. It carries over into the next scene with them recapping the joke that they made. Not adding anything to it, just recapping the joke. Because telling a joke and then telling an abridged version of that same joke immediately after is definitely funny. No, it's not. Even if it was a good joke, it wouldn't work. And it's not just with that one. They keep it going. The TV joke just gets longer and longer as it goes on. Normally, the running joke rule is that it's a rule of 3. With every single time you use it, it builds. Finally, when you use it the 3rd time, that's the big payoff. Not only does it stay way longer than 3 times, but there is no payoff, and there's never a rise. It's just the same joke over and over and over again. All being told by people that are trying to be rubber hose cartoon characters. There's also a couple other little things that bug me here. For example, they use these kinda interesting interstitials for both the theme song and for scene transitions. I get that they use that for the theme song, and I guess for your cartoony aesthetic it fits for the scene transitions, but they chicken out for using it for the transitions. You know how many times they use it? 1. And then they just use regular cuts throughout the rest of the episode. You guys can't even commit to how you want to do your scene transitions? Come on, just go into the editing studio and edit them in. But if you really didn't want them, then take the only one you have out. Doing both makes you look sloppy and unprofessional. Also, the title kinda bothers me too. When I heard the title Happy Hour, I thought it was gonna be about a lonely guy who was down on his luck going to a bar and meeting some friends. You know, kinda like a Cheers knockoff. But no, they don't go to a bar once. You know where the title Happy Hour comes from? Diet Charlie Sheen loves alcohol, and he wants to make alcoholism popular again in America or something or other. Because herdy-dur, he's stupid. So he establishes a daily tradition known as Happy Hour, where he drinks in the middle of the day, and that's where the title comes from. Yeah, Henry joins in with him at the end, but that's really it. That's our hangout. The guy's apartment. His kitchen in his apartment. Friends has Central Perk. Seinfeld has Monks. Happy Hour has the apartment where everything else takes place anyways. The point of having a hangout is to have a central hub for the whole cast. And also to have a little bit of variance, so not everything has to take place in an apartment. Happy Hour, most of the thing takes place in Diet Charlie Sheen's apartment. I mean, yeah, it's a nice apartment, but it gets old to look at. And it's especially weird how everyone just barges in there. I know in, like, Friends and Seinfeld, they have apartments that all their friends come in. But the thing is, not all these people are friends. It's clear that abuser and abusee are not Diet Charlie Sheen's friends. They're just annoyances. And they just keep coming on in. You know, if this was a bar, I could see that. Bars don't usually deny service to people. But this is some guy's property. It's his home. It just feels weird to have this be the central hangout. And they title it after something so inconsequential and nothing to the story. I mean, at the end of the episode, this is where Henry finds his confidence again, but that doesn't have anything to reflect on the show. It's like if Friends was called Central Perk or Seinfeld was called Monks. Happy Hour doesn't reflect the show. Honestly, I think a better title for the show would have been Two Losers. That's really all it is. I'm not talking about the actors, I'm just talking about the characters here. The actors seem like nice guys. Honestly, I really wish I could find the rest of these episodes. This show looks so fundamentally broken, I just have to take a look at it. But it's lost. Lost probably forever. And with the bad jokes, awful characters, and just fundamental brokenness, I can totally see why this faded away. It really is just 2.5 Men minus the kid. And like a lot of knockoffs, it's dull, it's lifeless, and pales in comparison to the original. And when I already don't like 2.5 Men, that's a bad sign. Happy Hour faded away with no fanfare, no support, no nothing. And I think the world is better for it. Well, that's one of the 7 shows down. We're not gonna cover one next month because that's the Christmas month. But coming up again in January, we'll be taking a look at another one of these shows. Which one? Well, you'll just have to see now, won't you? Ha ha. What did you guys think of this video? Where do you think the other episodes of Happy Hour are? Do you think they still even exist? Comment below and let me know because I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. Man, this episode was terrible. Alright guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.